All right, welcome back to Foundations of Business. We are going to tackle Chapter 16 today. And Chapter 16 focuses on hospitality and tourism. And certainly an exciting major here at Virginia Tech, considering that Virginia Tech is ranked number 4 in the country and like number 6 in the world. So a very, very strong program for us as Hokies here at Virginia Tech. So let's jump in to hospitality and tourism. Going to really kind of focus on the various aspects. We talk about hospitality and tourism. It does engage, whether it's events, destinations, the customer experience. It could mean anniversaries and weddings to business conventions. Many different aspects within hospitality tourism. Could be restaurants, hotels, event planning. There's many different areas. So I strongly encourage you to also take a look at the video that is on Canvas that outlines the program here at Virginia Tech. Certainly gives you a chance to explore and discover, and then to really kind of take into what hospitality means as a career and as an academic journey. Now, we define tourism as a social culture, but also this economic phenomenon. So many of us probably realize, because most of us here, if not all of us, have gone on vacation. We have been defined as tourists in the past. So we know the socio-cultural aspect of hospitality and tourism, but we also need to understand the economic phenomenon that entails this movement of people and this celebration of ideas, and the understanding and sharing of culture and activities and what that looks like. And so really, bottom line is tourism is the movement of people for a number of purposes, whether business or pleasure. And then we're going to actually look at the economic impact of that as well. And part of that is 10% of the global GDP comes from global tourism. 6% of global exports, 1 out of every 11 jobs worldwide. Now, these statistics were before COVID, so there's been certainly a shift during COVID, but I think we will get back there. If anything, we may actually exceed those numbers over time. You can tell too here on the right-hand side. I mean, there's a nice travel industry impact. This is from the United States Travel Association. But you can tell here, from 2015 to 2018, there was only like a 2% decline. People say, okay, well, what's that mean? 14 million visitors, $60 billion in spending, $60 billion in spending, and 120,000 American jobs. It's a dramatic change just with 2%. So it is very, very different. If you start to look at, again, what the impact that COVID had, I'm not going to read each and every one of these because this is sort of a rear view mirror look. The progress and the forward look is that Chip Rogers, the president and CEO of the American Hotel and Lodging Association, really the hospitality has optimism, and there is a future in the industry. People, once we can get the consumer confidence back, get gas prices down, kind of get back to, if we get back to, but certainly people like to travel. I've seen this, whether it was in 2001, after September 11th, or in 2007 and 8, in the economic downturn. We do come back as a nation, we do come back as a people, because we want to get out and explore. We want to discover what we have here in the U.S. and beyond. Even from a traveling abroad point of view, it's important. Really just kind of share here, again, from the U.S. Travel Association, when you look at the expenditure, so how much money is spent on various aspects of travel. And you can tell here that, the two largest ones are, or actually three largest ones, but food service, public transportation, lodging certainly make up a large portion of the spend. This is what people spend money on. From an employment standpoint, it sort of conveys that, again, food service, 41% is in employment. And then you start to look at lodging and public transportation with second, third there. So again, the hospitality industry, accommodations and lodging, and that could be anything, from our traditional hotels and motels to resorts. Campgrounds have become very popular, especially during COVID. Airbnb has certainly come about over the last 12 to 14 years, becoming a very popular option for travelers. Recreation and entertainment, so gaming, theme parks, recreation. You look at gaming just here in the state of Virginia over the last 2 years with changes in legislation, and gaming is becoming popular, even so much so that there's economic development and growth. So down in Danville, Virginia, on the south side of Virginia, there's going to be a new gaming facility put in. I think it's MGM, if I'm not mistaken, is putting a facility in there. And then down in Bristol, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia, also another gaming facility that's being put in there as well. So these will become destinations for people, typically weekend getaways, 3 and 4 days at a time. Travel services still, still popular, maybe not so much with travel agents, the traditional legacy travel agent where you go and you speak to someone, but certainly there's the online travel agents that many of us use, Expedia, Travelocity, Kayak, those are there. Airlines, rail, bus, car, rental cars are there. Continues with other areas of hospitality with restaurants and catering, institutional food services, which we've talked about in the past, conventions, and different things. We'll start to look at and kind of break that down. Now, what's interesting, you can see a picture there of golfing. So over the last 3 to 4 years, golfing has kind of come back as a recreational opportunity for people, and especially during COVID when people wanted to get out and be safe and be able to enjoy friends and family. That was a nice way of doing it. The hotel segment, so this is outlined in the chapter, but the hotel segment's broken down into 4 different specific areas: commercial, leisure, meetings and groups, and extended stays. On the extended stay, that could apply to either travelers or business travelers or leisure travelers. And so you could look at a business person may choose an extended stay if they're going to be in a city for more than a week at a time. I know when I used to have to travel to Cleveland to our corporate headquarters, sometimes I would be up there for 2 to 3 weeks. An extended stay was a nice opportunity for me to have a living room, a kitchen. I could kind of spread out and kind of get away from that traditional 1 room, 1 bed kind of layout. We start at the top, though. The commercial side is specifically for the business traveler. Monday through Thursday is the stronger demand. It sort of makes sense. Certainly, typically around cities or airports. So, the reverse of that is on the weekend. So a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, around a city or downtown area, for example, downtown Charlotte or downtown Cleveland, downtown Cincinnati, since the businesses are not, going to be open during those timeframes, professional services and things like that. A lot of times hotels will have discounted rates for those downtown properties. Then we move into meetings and groups. This is known as SMERF, which is social, military, education, religious, and fraternal groups. These include meetings and seminars and trade shows, anything that has more than 10 people or so. Peak demand is in the spring and fall. These are starting to come back after a 2 to 3 year hiatus. I was just in Minneapolis back in March for our co-ed fraternity. And Normally would have had 800 to 900 people. I think we were around 500 or so. So definitely not back to pre-COVID data or pre-COVID attendance, but it's certainly trying to get back. These are typically held near a conference center, because there's meeting banquet space and certainly meeting rooms for breakouts and different sessions comes in very, very handy. And then there's leisure. I think you all know that leisure could be a vacation for a family, sightseeing, recreation, visiting friends and family. Typically the stronger demand on Friday and Saturday nights, also during holidays in the summer, certainly an increased piece. And so you can imagine, what a family or leisure customer needs versus perhaps a business customer, and understanding the target audience and what they are certainly trying to cater to. We saw this already, branding strategies. We saw this in chapter 14 in the marketing chapter. Just to kind of share it with you again, looking at the different types of hotels: luxury, independent, full service, select service, extended stays, and then the different brands. So again, catering to the demographics, catering to the behavioral patterns of each one of these groups is very, very important. For example, having meeting rooms is important Monday through Thursday, so that companies that may be using the banquet space and using the meeting spaces can be there. On the weekends, those typically are not used except for maybe weddings and events such as that. But a family traveling to a particular city just isn't going to need those meeting spaces. So they have to actually step outside, get creative with that space, and try to cater to different markets during different times of the year in order to use those. Good video on trends. Hopefully you'll watch that. Be sure to understand the different types of food and beverage services. We refer to fast food now as quick service, so quick service restaurants. And there's a difference between a quick service and a fast casual. So always think of, a Taco Bell being your quick service versus Chipotle, which is more of your fast casual. Very similar in that you certainly are seeing a similar type of menu, but think about the quality of food. Think about the type of experience that you have, even within the confines of the four walls there. And so each one of these segments has a ranges of menu and price points and different pieces there. Here in the state of Virginia, we're starting to see a lot more wineries and craft distilling, whether it's craft beer or other types of spirits. And so those are becoming destination points, which have economic development opportunities and impact to tax revenue and other support services that come along with that. Institutional food service, this is what we have here at Virginia Tech. All of our dining halls would be known as institutional food services. A hospital has institutional food service, whereas accommodation food service would be a hotel. And not all hotels have a kitchen or food service opportunities. Certainly as you go up the scale of availability and infrastructure, then those types of accommodations can be met from that. So here at Virginia Tech, we also have the Inn at Virginia Tech. Some of you may have been there, your families may have been there, but it's the hotel that is on just right outside near new classroom building. So if you're ever going over to University City Boulevard to the Math Impo, you'll pass right by the Virginia Tech Inn and Conference Center. And so that becomes certainly a larger opportunity for the availability of services that the inn can offer. Recreation and entertainment, adventure tourism has become popular over the last 10 to 15 years. This certainly gives groups a chance, to get out and explore different activities like golfing, sport fishing, rock climbing. Maybe it's whitewater rafting. We can also start to see corporate company organizations using this for team building, executive retreats and summits, strategic summits. So again, just chance to get out and away and do something a little bit different and exploring and discovering what's available. I'm not going to get into all the specifics here on meetings and conventions, but certainly you should understand the various types. Think about the project management and the planning, the event and planning and organizing that has to go into these types of events and the skill sets that are needed for this. And we certainly hope over the next 2 to 3 years that we start to see, an increase in these types of activities. It will certainly help a lot of other people. We get down to what's at the core. What's at the core of hospitality. So it's something for you to think about, whether it's you're going on a cruise for 4 days or 7 days, maybe it's just arriving into a hotel just for a night or just for a weekend. What is our expectation of that particular room? What's our expectation of the amenities that might be offered, whether it's breakfast, a full breakfast in the morning, maybe we're just looking for a continental breakfast. Whatever that looks like, the core of whether it's a wedding, an anniversary, a fraternal or sorority type of event, maybe it's just getting away. It gets down to people and the customer experience. And that is very, very important when it comes to hospitality, both for the organization and obviously for the people receiving it. We get down to just something as simple as a cookie, right? Something as simple as a cookie. And DoubleTree by Hilton, it's a Hilton property. They have, many of you may have experienced this, when you arrive and you check in and they welcome you, they bring you there. And one of their just signature pieces is handing you a warm cookie. You may think, well, that's kind of silly. What does that mean? But it's just a sign of welcoming. It's a sign of hospitality. It's warm for a reason because they take care in preparing these types of things. And that there's actually a case study out there about the representation of their brand and the representation of making you feel like that customer experience is above and beyond with regards to that. Now, we've talked about the positive impacts of tourism, economic development, certainly getting people out and about and exploring culture and spending time with friends and family. But there's also some negative impacts from tourism. Again, even these towns that benefit from, these cities and areas that benefit from tourism, in the tax dollars and the economic increase of activity, there could also be a loss of local identification and values, an increase in crime. We start to look at environmental damage. You think about, the sheets and the towels and, that have to be washed on a daily and weekly basis, and all the detergents and things that can end up hurting the environment. So that all of these things have to be taken into account. And there are some cities and localities that just say no. They say no to some tourist, evaluations. For example, Walt Disney companies back in the early to mid 90s were looking at the state of Virginia, both Northern Virginia and even Southwest Virginia, at perhaps expanding their parks, their theme parks, and putting a historical type of park here in the state of Virginia. And actually, no one was interested. There was a concern about, the impact on the local economy and having to give up land that perhaps would be better suited for something different than that. And so both of those localities said no to the Walt Disney Company. And you think back, was that a good decision or not? It's hard to say. All right, that's going to conclude where we're at here with chapter 16 and hospitality and tourism. As always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Until then, we'll see you next time.